Hey friends! Easter is just around the corner, but today I want to visit another resurrection story. It's a story about a guy named Lazarus found in the book of John, chapter 11. Now, the speedy version of the story goes like this. Lazarus, the brother of Mary and Martha, got really sick. Mary and Martha sent word to Jesus to let him know. But Jesus didn't go rush off to Judea to heal him right away. Instead, he hung out with the disciples for 2 more days right where they were. When he and the disciples finally did go to Judea, Lazarus had been dead in the tomb for 4 days. Jesus wept about the death of his friend, but then he had the stone rolled away, and a nasty stench was the first to come out of the tomb. But then Jesus yelled, "Lazarus, come out!" And sure enough, smelly, crusty Lazarus walked out of the grave. We can only imagine the absolute astonishment of the crowd and what kind of a celebration party went on for weeks to come. The Bible records that many Jews came to believe in Jesus because of that miracle, and rightfully so. But in spite of that incredible miracle, that total display of power, it's still not the most amazing part of the story to me. The most astonishing part comes at the beginning, and it wasn't a miracle that Jesus did. It's what one of his disciples chose to do. The MVP Disciple Award in this story goes to a guy named Didymus, a guy we know better as Doubting Thomas. So to see it, we've got to back up way to the beginning of the story. So let's reverse. Mary and Martha's brother Lazarus got sick. They sent word to Jesus. Now when Jesus heard the news, he said, "This sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it." 2 days later, he said to the disciples, "Let's go back to Judea," which is where Mary, Martha, and Lazarus were. But the disciples quickly answered, "The Jews tried to stone you to death there just a short while ago, and yet you want to go back now?" Jesus told them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to wake him up." Now, I can picture the disciples looking around at each other in confusion, each wondering if they had heard him right. I think they had to be so confused, but then one of them spoke up and said, Jesus, whenever I was sick, my mom always made me get extra sleep. So if Lazarus sleeps, maybe he will get better." The disciples thought Jesus had been speaking of natural sleep, but Jesus was speaking of total sleep, death. So he told them plainly, "Lazarus is dead, and for your sake, I am glad I wasn't there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him." Now here's where the MVP play of the game comes in. It's in verse 16, and it says, "Then Doubting Thomas, also known as Didymus, said to the rest of the disciples, 'Let us also go, that we may die with him.'" What? Did he really mean that? Was he really so ready to follow that even if he didn't have the complete assurance there would be a happy ending, he was willing to die with Jesus? Now, to me, that is the big miracle. So here are 2 practical truths I learned from Didymus in this story. Number 1, we don't have to understand in order to follow. Jesus doesn't always make sense, at least not to us, and at least not at the moment. Now, can you imagine if you were one of the guys, first you're really confused. You think, why would Jesus make us get up from this comfy place and travel to a dangerous place to go wake up a guy from a nap? Then it becomes slightly more clear as you learn that the guy is not napping, but now that you know he's dead, even so, your mind, can it really fully wrap around the idea that Jesus is going to bring him back to life? Likewise, so much of following Jesus does not make sense to us, or it seems completely undoable. Like, forgive, put others first, keep no record of wrongs, not envy, It seems that raising a dead man sometimes would be a whole lot easier. Here's number 2. It's so easy to miss out. I don't know what the disciples were doing when Jesus was speaking to them and said, "Hey guys, let's go." But I think it would have been so easy for them, I know it would have been for me, to find a million reasons why it was a good idea to sit this trip out. They could have said, go ahead, Jesus, and we'll hold down the fort here until you get back. And they would have missed out on the most unbelievable miracle, on participating in this blow your mind kind of story. They would have missed out on seeing the tender side of Jesus as he wept for his friend. They would have missed out on holding their noses while watching a smelly dead man come back to life, or on asking Lazarus, "Hey, what was it like to be dead for 4 days?" On watching the reaction of all the people who saw the miracle. They would have missed out on all of that. For what? For the comfort of staying where they were? Here is my conclusion from these 2 truths. I think a lot of Jesus' followers have all too often chosen the easy path, and as a result are missing out on the miraculously abundant life that Jesus offers. If we stay stuck in this selective following mode for too long, we begin to find that the Christian life is kind of boring. We know in our heads that Christianity is the truth, but if we're honest with ourselves, our life feels like anything but the abundant life Jesus says he came to provide. We start to blame Jesus for not delivering on his abundance promise when we're the ones who decided not to follow him into the places we find to be too dangerous, the very places that miracles happen. We too easily give in to doubt of God's love for us and the Holy Spirit's power working in us. We give in to fear of losing the comforts that we have, or fear that we're not good enough or smart enough or talented enough to follow Jesus into the dangerous territory he's calling us to. Oh, we're not afraid of getting stoned to death. No, we fear other dangers like looking foolish in front of others, or what friends and family members might say. Or we fear simply losing control to a God who never seems to unveil his whole plan for us at once. And that little piece of his plan that we currently see just doesn't make perfect sense. So, what about you? If you were one of the disciples back then, would you have gone into dangerous Judea and witnessed a literal resurrection? Or would you have played it safe, not followed, and missed out? And how about today? Are you experiencing a miraculous story? Oh, maybe not seeing people raised from the dead every other day, but seeing yourself freed from insecurity or bitterness or shame as you follow Jesus, which is just as miraculous. Oh, I never want to miss out on these things. So here's the deal. Today, I want to renew my commitment to follow Jesus in the way doubting Thomas did, that I would slow down enough to hear Jesus speaking to me. And instead of giving into fear or doubt or demanding that his plan makes sense before I follow it, that I would say, just like Didymus did, "Lord, let me also go with you, that I may die with you." So how about this? How about we renew our commitment together? That's my challenge to you this week. And I would so appreciate it if you'd let me know in the comments below that you're with me in this by simply leaving a, "Hey, I'm in." How about we do that together? Maybe you know someone too who would love to be encouraged to renew their commitment to follow Jesus. Please share this video with them and let's be a community ready to follow Jesus wherever he leads. Thanks so much, friends.